The room went quiet when my daughter-in-law said it out loud, not whispered, not private, in front of family, neighbors, even strangers. She said I was still living in their house and smiled like she'd won. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't defend myself, but everyone there missed one thing. The house wasn't theirs. It never was. And what I chose to do next split the family in half. If this feels wrong to you, stay with me. Like the video and subscribe, because what happened next shocked everyone. Was she wrong, or was this the only way? She moved into that house when it was still just drywall and dust, 32 years earlier, back when her husband was alive and her son was still a boy who needed help with his shoes. The mortgage papers were in her name, always had been. She kept them in a blue folder under the bed, untouched for years. She didn't think she'd ever need them. That Sunday afternoon was supposed to be simple. A backyard lunch, her son's co-workers, her daughter-in-law's friends. She stayed inside, setting plates, listening to laughter spill through the open door. Then she heard her name, not kindly, not angry either, casual, like a joke. Her daughter-in-law pointed toward the house and said, "Yeah, she still lives here. We're trying to get her comfortable with moving on." People chuckled. Someone nodded. No one corrected it. She stood in the hallway holding a stack of napkins, realizing something had shifted. This wasn't about space, it wasn't about convenience, it was about ownership, about rewriting history while she was still alive. She placed the napkins down, smoothed her sweater, and stepped outside. No one noticed the way her hands shook, and no one noticed what she decided in that moment. Why would her daughter-in-law say that so confidently? The comments didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, little remarks floated around like harmless dust. "We're thinking of remodeling once everything is settled. It's nice she can stay with us for now." Her son never said these things himself. He just stayed quiet, avoided eye contact, busy with his phone. Bills began arriving addressed to both of them, property tax notices too. She asked about it once, gently. Her daughter-in-law laughed and said, "Oh, we're just handling things now. Easier this way." Easier for who wasn't said. She noticed changes in the house, a lock added to the garage. Her old chair moved from the living room to the spare room without asking. Family photos replaced with new ones where she wasn't included. Still, she cooked, she folded laundry, she watched her grandson after school. Love made her patient, but patience started to feel like permission. One evening, she overheard a phone call, her daughter-in-law bragging about how the house will be ours soon anyway. She stood frozen behind the door, not angry, just clear, very clear. That night, she pulled the blue folder out from under the bed for the first time in years. She didn't cry, she didn't pray, she just read, slowly, page by page, and she understood exactly what was being planned around her. If they thought the house was already theirs, what were they about to do next? The real humiliation came on a Friday evening, a neighborhood association meeting hosted in the living room, her living room. Chairs lined up, snacks on her table. Her daughter-in-law took charge, passing out papers. When someone asked about the homeowner signature, she smiled and said, "Oh, I'll handle that. We're basically the owners now." Then she looked straight at her and added, "She's just here until we figure things out." The word "just" hung in the air. People glanced over, some awkward, some curious. No one spoke up. Her son stared at the floor. That was the moment. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. She excused herself, went to her bedroom, and closed the door. She sat on the bed fully dressed and waited for the meeting to end. Later that night, no one checked on her. No apology, no explanation. Only the sound of dishes being washed downstairs. She looked at the walls she'd painted, the floor she'd paid for, the life she'd built brick by brick. And for the first time, she asked herself a question she'd avoided for years. What happens when love costs you your dignity? Would she protect her family or finally protect herself? She barely slept. Memories came instead. Her late husband working double shifts, her son's first bike, holidays she hosted without complaint. She remembered every sacrifice that made that house possible. And she remembered the promise she'd made to herself after her husband passed, never be a burden. Somewhere along the line, they decided she already was one. In the morning, her grandson hugged her before school. That nearly broke her. She almost stayed silent again. Almost. But silence taught them something dangerous, that she would accept anything. She made coffee and sat at the table with her son, just the two of them. She asked him one question: "Do you believe this is your house?" He hesitated. That told her everything. She nodded and said nothing else. That afternoon, she called someone she hadn't spoken to in years. Not a relative, not a friend. A professional. Calm voice, clear questions. She gave simple answers. Dates, names, documents. When she hung up, her hands were steady. The choice hurt, but it also lifted something heavy off her chest. What kind of justice could she take without tearing herself apart? She didn't announce anything. No confrontation, no threats. She simply stopped doing things. No cooking, no babysitting. She spent mornings at the library, afternoons walking. A week later, a letter arrived addressed to her son and daughter-in-law. Official, polite, impossible to ignore. It explained the property status clearly: ownership, rights, timelines, options. Her daughter-in-law read it 3 times before speaking. Her son finally looked at her, not angry, just stunned. She said one sentence: "I never took what was mine. I won't give it away either." The house felt different after that. Quieter, smaller. They argued behind closed doors. She stayed out of it. A month later, they moved out. No scene, no shouting, just boxes and slammed doors. She watched from the window, holding her coffee. The house was still standing. So was she. But would that decision cost her the relationship forever? The calls slowed. Holidays passed quietly. Some relatives said she was harsh. Others said she was brave. She didn't defend herself. She didn't explain. One afternoon, her grandson came by with a school project, alone. He hugged her the same way he always had. Inside the house, nothing had changed. Her chair was back where it belonged. The walls held their memories again. She sat at the table helping with homework, feeling peace instead of guilt. She hadn't punished anyone. She had simply refused to disappear. Later that night, she placed the blue folder back under the bed, not because she was afraid anymore, but because she didn't need it out. The house was quiet and safe, and hers. Was she wrong for choosing dignity over blood? What would you have done? Comment yes or no. I read every reply.